It's pretty alright actually. It has some good parts, some that needs improvements, and a few that are absolute donkey balls as per usual. We'll cover it all and provide some feedback. And we'll start with the good stuff. But before that, let's just take a quick look at what's coming in Season 9 for the dogshit casuals that haven't been keeping up with D4 lately. You're basically getting 3 new things. 1. Balance updates with a few new uniques. 2. Seasonal powers. And 3. Nightmare dungeon changes. With that, let's take a look at some of the good stuff. And first out, we have a few of the new uniques. I think that all of these are pretty solid uniques apart from one. From best to worst, we have the Obsidian Iris unique. Hydras are finally good baby. So good, in fact, that this unique single-handedly brought Hydras from being crap to the absolute best sorcerer build next season. Partially due to Lightning Spear getting nuked, but also due to how strong Hydras were. And why is it so damn good? Well shit, it has a lot going for it. The skill in itself is a conjuration skill, meaning you have access to some great multipliers right off the bat. But on top of that, you now also turn it into a core skill, receiving loads of additional multipliers. And finally, the best parts, it deals AoE damage with all of its hits, and per Hydra head, it deals 100% additional goddamn damage. And you can slap 12 Hydra heads onto your weapon, meaning this line single-handedly grants your Hydras a 13x multiplier. Mikuma used it to clear Pit 120 utilizing a clever shatter technique, but even without this, you can expect easy 100 pit clears. The only shitty part about this unique is that it has both crit chance and devouring blaze on it. And generally, Hydra is a burning damage spell not utilizing crit. So for some general feedback, drop the crit and go with something generic instead, like cooldown reduction and inner flames or something. Next best unique is the Balazan Pantaloonies. This single-handedly brought Thorns from being absolute trash to creating the second best build in the game. Unfortunately, it's yet another Quill Volley build, but at least it utilizes Thorns. And in a pretty cool way, you simply attack as fast as humanly possible and deal Thorns damage. This Thorns in turn also deals poisoning damage, and this is what we use to deal damage when combined with the Noxious Resonance Key passive, meaning we have a lot of interactions going on to make the build great, and most likely even more interactions as the season officially launches. Unless it gets nuked, of course, in that case, sad times ahead for the Cringeborn. Third favorite unique is the Death Mask Flurry Helmet. This has a few interesting interactions where you're spending life to increase your damage and attack speed. This, in turn, allows you to utilize some additional life-spending multipliers. I like this concept, but unfortunately, the helmet is not great. I mean, it's alright, but it's not like it's going to bring Flurry into the meta or anything. And it's easy to see why, as this happens with every new helmet introduced. It competes with Air of Perdition and Cowl of the Nameless. And this helmet comes with a massive downside. It only works when you're completely out of energy, so to use this, it also needs to have a huge upside. Honestly, I'd like to see the damage part of it doubled, and then we may be talking. Alright, and the new Necro Gloves are also fantastic. Or well, they're not particularly interesting, but they're strong, especially when combined with the new Skelly Mages aspect. Using these, minions are finally back on the table again as one of the stronger Necro builds of the season. Basically, you're sacrificing all of your minions for mages, and they deal damage, a lot of it. Next, we have yet another interesting and, in my opinion, pretty well designed unique, Hooves of the Shit Smearer. When you're maxed out on Fury, your basic skills cleave and deal a buttload of additional damage. This is a good step in bringing basic skills back, as most basic skills in the game also got a substantial buff. Unfortunately though, all basic skills were using the same aspects, and they all got nuked. So not a whole lot changed, and we need more basic skill damage next season if we want them back. Meaning, if you want to see Heartseeker and Bash back on top, you better let Blizz know. And finally, a dogshit, unique, noxious spine breaker, or perhaps rotting lightbringer as it's called on Wowhead? Not sure, actually. Either way, this new unique turns Pulverize into a poison damage skill and could have been great now that overpower damage got absolutely obliterated. But for some reason, this is only usable once every 10 seconds unless you want to stand within the goddamn puddle spawned.
But you can see the poison over here, this is what we want to use, but I can't really utilize it because, well, the enemies are further away, and I only get this one time every 10 seconds.
I want to be honest here. Ever since Spiritborn dropped, Blizz has completely dropped the ball on the Druid. Back during Season 0 and 1, all the way up to Season 5, the Druid used to have a lot of good things going for it. Oh damn, run, it's the Butcher! Oh wait, where did he go? Oh well. Great build variety, and fun builds on top of that. But now, all we've been playing is a snapshotting build that everyone hates, and relying on the same builds we've been playing for over a year. I'm not sure if Blizz is fat-shaming the guy or what, but it's not a great look. To make the unique viable, I just instantly remove the timer on it or bring it down to 1 second or whatever so that we can move the puddle around without any issues. Then I'd buff its damage, and possibly then it could find some use. Releasing it like this is just absolute trash and dead on arrival. Alright, and that's the great stuff coming this season. Now before we continue, I spent my life savings on a PC and I live in the greatest country on earth with top-notch internet. And despite this, my ping in this godforsaken game keeps tanking my performance, making me feel like one of you peasants. Or does it? Not anymore, because rocking ExitLag. I instantly dropped 20 ping and started connecting me to the best possible servers at all times.
Wow.
And if that wasn't enough, it also helps me turn off all the trash I don't need to boost my FPS playing demanding games. It's basically a must-have at this point, as it simply makes playing any game out there more fun, with less lag and smoother gameplay. Oh, and by the way, we're absolutely confident that you'll see a difference. So using my link in the description, you're free to try the program out for yourself and uninstall it if you're not satisfied. There is no credit card requirement, you just sign up here with my link and you're good to go. And that's on top of the huge discount you're getting from my code PERA. Do what I did and give it a spin, will ya? Okay, friends, and on to the things that are not great but has some potential. And mainly, this is all about the Nightmare Dungeons. Now, right before Blizz dropped their roadmap, I made a video discussing the current state of the game and saying that the game needs a huge Nightmare Dungeon overhaul to make the game interesting again, as these had the biggest potential. And in Season 9, they're doing just that, but with a caveat. The changes made are just bare bones and kind of lazy. So, this is what I needed. An actual escalation where we can craft sigils with different affixes and make the dungeons as difficult as we want via a skill tree of some sort, where the more difficult we made it, the more beneficial it would be. This is what we got. A few set affixes, and an escalation system where you do 4 dungeons in a row that are capped at Torment 4 difficulty. No difficulty, no choices, no crafting, just press a button and continue. And yet another reuse boss at the end. Man, I didn't have huge expectations here, but I guess it has some potential. Unfortunately, it felt unfinished to me. The best feedback I can give here is, why stop at 4 escalations? Why not just let us craft more difficult sigils and have them go into fucking infinity when it comes to difficulty or something? As it currently stands, you're not going to interact with or give a shit about what's going on in these dungeons. You're going to toggle an escalation, you run the same type of dungeons, kill a boss in the end, and repeat. Oh well, there's a strong room that you can unlock though, where you'll need to kill enemies on a timer. Something new that changes the gameplay loop in the dungeons is always appreciated. Next up on the agenda, we have the powers. Another season of seasonal powers? Yeah, here I want your feedback. Do you give a shit about the powers at this point? Do they make the gameplay more fun for you compared to if you wouldn't have them? Personally, I don't really give a shit about them anymore. All they do is boost you in some minor way, and you more or less ignore them. If it was up to me, I'd rather the development time was spent elsewhere. But okay, they're here now, so let's discuss a few good parts about them. Firstly, the UI is good. You slot a skill, you used that skill, and you boost that skill. So you're basically running around with another skill. Unfortunately, that skill is pretty crap, but still. Another good part is that you're able to remove enemy modifiers. Namely, the damage resistance aura is a big one. You know that purple aura things that makes pushing in the pit a living hell? Please, Blizzard, keep this in the game in one way or another. Because this made me realize just how god-awful of a design resistance auras are to have in the pit. I can understand why they're there. You need to focus fire and single target the demon down before you start splitting up your damage. Unfortunately though, that's just not how an ARPG works. You're doing the same rotation regardless if they're there or not, and they're basically just there to piss you off at that point. How about adding a resistance aura removal as a rune next season? Could be solid. Other than this though, the powers are just bloat. Applying vulnerable, some barrier, fortified damage per usual. The same goes for the new gems. Or well, not sure if I'd call them new, but reused gems from Season 7. Now onto another alright thing that is both good and shit. And that's some of the balance changes. And I'd like to start out with something that's been debated quite a bit. All of the caps introduced. In case you've missed this, everything in the game is being capped. The key passives, aspects, paragon nodes, you name it. Is this good or bad? I'd say both. The good? It's going to make the game more balanced in the long run. The outliers are being heavily brought down, and it's going to make balancing the game a whole lot easier. Because, just in case you were unaware, some builds having access to a completely uncapped scaler, and some won't really allow for a balance between the builds, will it? I've heard a lot of talk about don't nerf the good builds, bring up the weak ones. And that argument is just fucking brain dead. The difference between an S build and a B build is a factor of 10,000% or more. And what are you going to do to solve that? Buff the base damage of the shitty build by 10,000%, grant it 5 new broken uniques? Nah, man. The good builds in this game have always been the ones that can utilize the broken and uncapped scalers, and bringing these down will make balancing the game easier in the long run. Well, that sounds great to me, Mr. Paragaming Big Meat Stick Bearer, so what's the problem? Main problem is, it makes the game dumber. And this game is pretty goddamn dumb as it is. All the paragon nodes are being dumbed down, the aspects are being dumbed down, the affixes, and now all of the passives. And as it currently stands, the choices you make to your build is becoming less and less impactful. Just look at the barb as an example. In Season 4, every creator made their bash barbs differently. You wanted to stack vulnerable for one uncapped passive, crit damage for another, get your crit chance sorted, get berserking damage sorted, get some attack speed in there, and lots more. And now, you just grab any tempering manual that has the biggest number on it. Nothing matters for shit, and all builds looks exactly the same. So I don't know, man. I think I'd rather have the game be unbalanced than it being dumbed down. But maybe that's just me. Alright, and now on to 2 personal topics that I need fixed as soon as possible. So, a whole lot of you didn't play the PTR. But I did, and I tried 20 or so builds. Do you realize how much my hand hurt just pressing the same button over and over? No? Because I'm talking about Masterworking and enchanting. So, Masterworking. If you want to have a good build or play a lot of the interesting endgame builds, then you need to hit your Masterworks. If your item has 5 affixes, that's a win in 125 attempts. Which means you need to press this fucking button 600 times to hit your Masterwork on every single item for one build. Which means if you play several builds, that you may be sitting here pressing this fucking slot machine button thousands, if not tens of thousands of times. I can't iterate enough how awful this is when you've done it for 5 seasons in a row. This needs to change now. You should not have to completely reset your Masterworks from the start again once you've hit the first crit. If you want to force us into farming obducits for days on end, then you can increase the costs of the last couple of Masterworks substantially. Just don't force us to press this button anymore, please. The exact same thing is true for the Enchantress, with the difference of this slot machine being here for 9 seasons now. How is this still a thing? Just subdivide the different stats, 5 in each group or something? I don't care. Just don't force us to press this thing hundreds of times to hit the correct stat. As it currently stands, it's weighted in a way to make it near impossible to hit the skill ranks. But they're so incredibly valuable that you must have them, meaning you're 100% forced to press this button hundreds of times. The Masterworking and also this is what has made me quit every season so far. I just don't have the energy to keep Masterwork critting new gear that I obtain, so I just don't do it. I quit instead. Once I've hit the Masterwork crit on an item, I use it until I'm done for the season, and most often I don't even do that. I go for 2 out of 3 and then I'm done. Alright friends, so that's Season 9 in a nutshell. Drop a comment what you think, sub, and check out ExitLag, whether it be for optimizing your connection in Diablo or other games. Until next one, have a good one, Kings.